About to start.
That's new, isn't it? Here's one. Oh, thank you.
Good evening. This is the Athens City Shade Tree Commission meeting for February the 14th, 2019. We have no Title 33 or Title 37 issues to discuss. We do have, though, a report from Ron Lucas. So, Ron. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, the big thing that I'd like to report on is AEP's line clearance efforts that they've done this year. They've focused a lot of energy on the near north side and west side. That work is about done. The biggest takeaway that I have from that is we had a significant number, over 5, of the large ash trees that were just hanging out in the right of way that we needed to take down. They're coming down, and AEP is willing to do that work. So good. Another way that we were able to creatively remove some trees that no longer are serviceable in the city. Some other things that we have going on. I know that some of you, if not all, are familiar with the land use efforts behind Walmart Community Center. Just keep in mind that there's some meetings that are still occurring on that. ODNR, Ann Bonner, City of Athens, Mayor Patterson are involved with that. I don't know if anyone on the Shade Tree Commission has been to the meeting or meetings that have happened, but there is going to be a lot of protection to the trees that are existing in that area. And we're not clear cutting anything. I think that was kind of the misconception initially, is that we were going to clear cut that, and that's not true. So there will be other meetings before we start the work.
Yeah, I would like to attend if it's possible, if you could let me know.
Sure thing.
There's a lot of invasives back there. I think that's...
That's the big thing. Yeah. Invasives is the goal, and it's going to be phased. It'll be phased effort.
Yeah,
I just got a quick question with the other commissioners. I get the emails on that. Does anybody else get any emails about the... Okay.
No.
I'll try and find the last one and just forward it out.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah.
We have the Tree City USA awards that'll be coming up in April. I do not have a date yet, but we've had some attendance from the Shade Tree Commission in the past, and I think that it's a good experience if you haven't been to those awards.
I think it's May 3rd in Belpre.
Okay. I knew it was in Belpre. I wasn't sure of the date. And this will be our 29th consecutive year, I believe. So we're getting close to a 5-year anniversary here, 30th. So
I went to the training that Ann does with the people in Belpre, and they're very into what they're doing with trees and stuff. Yeah. Landscape in general in their city. So it should be fun to see what they're up to.
We are going to continue the American Bloom effort. So this will be our 3rd year. In terms of scoring, there's 7 categories in the American Bloom evaluation criteria, and those categories are flowers, landscaping, urban canopy, sustainability, historic preservation, community vitality, and overall feel. We scored well in community vitality. We scored well in our urban canopy. We scored well in our sustainability. We could do better with our flowers, apparently, according to American Bloom. So we've reached out to a few other people that we think will fit on our committee, and it would be nice if we had someone from the Shade Tree Committee or Commission on that committee. We meet once or twice a month until we get closer to July, when our actual tour is, and we start to amp up the meetings a little bit. But having someone that can speak to policy, it's more than a tour, I guess, is what I'd really like to share with this group. It's more than a tour. It's an opportunity for the city to show how we do things by not only what's in the landscape or what's in there, what do you see, what do you feel when you're in the city, but also how do we policy it? What are our procedures? What are our practices that make all these things happen? So I think the last 2 years we've learned a lot. Our big mistake last year was that we didn't have. We were pretty university centric, so we had a lot of university interaction on the tour. We had a lot of city interaction as well, but we kept creeping back to areas of the university, such as the ridges and we didn't focus enough in the neighborhoods in terms of how do we get our community involved. So we have some interesting ideas of how we're going to do that in terms of having neighborhood and garden spots, or like pride gardens essentially, and maybe some competitions with the businesses uptown or in our primary business districts to get some more color in the landscape during the spring and summer.
Is that something that Master Gardeners might
absolutely
help with them?
Roxanne Miley Brune is now on our committee.
Good.
And she is getting the Master Gardeners involved.
Do they talk at all about native plants?
We do. So they've been very impressed with our native plants, particularly the Wissendahl garden and Roxanne's garden, which isn't all native. She has some really, really interesting things.
We're going there as a group.
But yeah, it's unbelievable. But they want to see more perennials. They want to see more color. They want to see it particularly in your areas of town that you are highlighting as destination places. So uptown feels like uptown, but when you look at it in the spring or summer, there's no color. I mean, we have the trees, the street trees, but there's no flowers lining the road and things like that.
Well,
there used to be.
Two comments. One is, are Project Plant involved at all?
Yes.
Because they obviously manage some of the islands that the cities have.
Yes.
The other one is that what really stands out well are hanging baskets. However, there need to be a watering program in place. And if you had that uptown, it would make a really big difference. The other thing is there's a city, I can't remember now, in Virginia that I visited, where they not only have the hanging baskets there, but very close to them they have large concrete planters that are full of flowers that sort of cascade over, but they're typically annuals that you need to put into these things.
Yeah, the First Presbyterian had a big a barrel, one of those whiskey barrel things, that they tried for about 3 years, but it was overturned, and then it was chained, and then it was just, they tried everything they could think of, and finally just gave up. It just was, but the things that were hanging seemed to be safe.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot. I think it's going to take time to turn over into something that is sustainable. But I think if we can get community buy-in, uptown business buy-in, particularly for the first part, there will be some of that. But over time, I think there'll be a lot of community pride in it, and it'll stop. Yeah. That'll be something that people look at and they're happy about, and hopefully we can get some of our community involved in actual volunteering to plant. Yeah. So we're going to make some efforts to be more community focused with it this year.
One way to avoid the issue that you found is to use something about 4 to 5 feet across, made of concrete. I mean, it's big. It's way too big to turn over. The other thing is, if we start planting up the annuals in May-ish, we won't have the students, or we won't have as many students.
Right. It's tough to get annuals before May.
Well, you don't really want to go planting before May because the last.
But your window of getting them is really, really tight.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What about using some bulbs, spring blooming bulbs, that you add, where you add annuals as they die back? That would give us some spring color.
I still think it would be good if we thought about native stuff. I think that would be something the city could develop over time.
I think so too. And I think we were dinged on lack of perennials, but I don't want to lose our identity for American Bloom. So we have a pride in our native and our perennial gardens because we are able to sustain those, and that's something that we as a community are pretty good at.
They're much easier to take care of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the committee, the judges have a different opinion of that, which I get it. They want this popping color, and they want to see
perennials
the attraction. But
perennials in July do not produce a lot of color.
No, they don't. They don't.
Whether they're native or not, it's difficult to get anything to flower.
So it's one of those. It's like you're trying to find that balance between what are you trying to do with America in Bloom, or what do we believe in as a city?
Yeah.
So.
Or just a balance between perennials and annuals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's if anybody would like to be a part of the committee.
When are the meetings normally held?
Right now we're having them on the first Friday of the month at noon in City Hall. But we may bump those to every other week. But right now we have about 7 people on our committee, and I'd like to expand it with someone from each area that has a lot of expertise and knowledge in terms of how to.
I'd be interested in being involved with
Good,
that.
wonderful. Anybody else in it? Because I during the day it's very difficult for me. I'm teaching
and I
at noon
understand
now.
that. Mm-hmm. So.
But certainly, Emily, would appreciate your help with this. And if there's others who want to volunteer, talk to Ron and get yourself on a mailing list for it.
Particularly if you can think of some native perennials that would be blooming in July, that would be really helpful.
Okay.
Because the meadow types, the full sun types of perennials, they do. Some of them bloom throughout much of the summer, right?
Yes, that's what I said.
I mean, I can think of trees that bloom that time.
Right.
We've cut a few of those down, unfortunately.
One thing that would like to bring up, since David, that's a good segue, David, regarding cutting down trees. Working with AEP on West State Street, and I think you may have seen the plan. There's some pine removal that's going to happen, and we have a replacement plan that's going to be on AEP. So we'll have a net gain of trees. We'll just be losing some trees that have some.
And these will be deciduous rather than
exactly
evergreen.
Yeah. So and
You said that you cut down some ash trees, 4 or 5, I think you said. Mm-hmm. Is that the end of it?
No, there's still some others, but some are on private property that I can't touch. I just can't, so, and and if you think about that, there's, one in particular on, Briarwood. There's a big ash on Briarwood near 34, and there's a property there, and there's a ton of tax liens on it, and it's dropping limbs on a neighboring driveway, and it's on private property, and we can go out to the property owner, but there's tax liens, so they're probably not going to put the bill. So you can put it on their property tax, but there's tax liens, so you're not going to see the money. So how do you do that? So I've met with a law director. I've had conversations with a law director on ways that we might be able to do this and help this person out, because it's a dead ash tree dropping branches on her driveway. It's dangerous. But most of the big ones in the right of way are taken care of.
Yeah,
That's a relief.
I think there were at least 5 ash trees just in my neighborhood, large ones that were taken out.
There's a lot on Old 33, Pomeroy Road, that are off the right of way. We probably won't mess with those. I mean, if we ever can get someone in there just to drop some trees, they're not hurting anything. They're just kind of unsightly, but those are the ones that are left. The ones that were in heavy pedestrian areas are pretty much gone.
Right.
So, the only other thing that I had is I've been working with Greenleaf. They have some inventory that they're trying to get rid of, some decent trees, but I don't think they're big enough in caliber. But they're looking at selling them at a decent price, so that might be something that we could get for a spring planting project.
Okay.
Ron, have you worked out a strategy for how to deal with the trees on Columbus Road? In those nice plantings in the center, the median. There are some of those that are dead. So, are you thinking about replacing those with some shrubs, or trying?
I wasn't thinking about replacing them with shrubs. I was thinking about replacing them with trees.
Oh, okay, that would be great.
Is there enough deep rooting area along there to really support trees well?
So that's a good question. It's not real deep. I think it's only about 8 feet.
I think I remember from something that was said in the past that they just put soil over.
Well, yeah. So there's some very hard. It wasn't over the pavement. It was.
There's bedrock.
It's hard material. It was a very hard subgrade.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like, is it about 8 inches, 12 inches of soil?
It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. It goes down pretty far, but it's not real wide, and it's just the surrounding area is very difficult.
But the good thing is it's a contiguous area.
Exactly.
So it's not like.
So I'm thinking eventually we'll get trees to take, and they'll be fine. Maybe there's too many trees there. I don't know.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Some of them are doing well, but there are a lot of trees.
But those ones that are doing well might be taking from the neighbors a little bit.
Right.
So.
But that's also an area where you could plant perennials along the centre.
We could. That's a good idea, David.
And there's a fair amount of sun.
Yeah.
So that would be good for maybe the native perennials.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. No, and it would improve the soil if you can get perennials in there for the trees, because you'll help to keep some of the moisture in.
Good idea.
As well.
That'd look really attractive.
Yeah.
I did have one more thing, and this is kind of a good segue to Nancy's letter. I'm working with AEP to develop a similar effort, a brochure of why we need to do line clearance, and get that out. Why we need to do electric line clearance. So
your power doesn't go out in the storm.
Well, no, I mean just some of the details to it.
Right.
I think that a lot of people just think that the city does it just to be mean. Trees. But the truth is there's more to it than that. Yeah. And it's all about keeping the lights on.
There really is partly technique or method, because I know in the street that I was talking to last time we talked about this, about that one tree looked great and one tree looked like it had been killed, purposely killed. It was just chopped off.
I work pretty close with with Asplen's main supervisor, and he's very, very willing to protect trees. For example, there's a magnolia on East State Street, and the property owner is very, very, very protective of it, but it's in the power lines. So we worked with her, and she was in the yard while the cut was going on, and we were being very, very careful to protect her tree and keep its nice look and still get the clearance that we need. So
do them all.
Most of them, yeah, he supervises quite a few people, but he's around. He's around. Some trees have been cut to the point that they probably shouldn't be there anymore because they're a problem tree in a bad location.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean,
the big thing is I think that AEP's communication efforts with the customers have been a lot better.
I would agree.
Since we've worked with them to get that to happen.
And even the pruning quality has improved in the last 2 to 3 years.
And I think any type of education that we can put out is going to be helpful.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And they did come around on my street with and talk to us and leave. They didn't just leave a hang tag saying we're coming. We had a conversation.
So that was part of the deal, So when I worked with them, I wanted them to do a robocall. I wanted everyone to get the phone call. I wanted a door hanger, and I wanted them to knock on everybody's door to have a conversation. Now, the chances of talking to everybody, it's not great during the day, but if they can get a few people just to explain and talk to them and get them into their comfort zone that, hey, this is why we're doing it and this is how we're going to do it, I think it's a good step.
Yeah, I had to sign something for an ash tree removal. They came by my house. We had a conversation about it, so I thought that was very good.
Yeah.
Where are we on the pruning along East State Street near the ODNR office, near those traffic lights that I think was stub pruned?
Yeah, we just need to get back out there. Unfortunately, we got into winter season, but we need to get our guys back out there to clean that up.
Is that all done now? Is that
I believe it is.
good?
What, East State Street itself?
Uh-huh.
No, there's still some work that'll need to happen in the spring. We just had to,
That part,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
right in that area. That was all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there was some stuff pruning done.
I did run across that thing that sticks out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that the particular tree had the stubs left, and it really would benefit from having them out because it would then raise the crown on that tree.
I'd like to. We'll get it done before spring.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, I mean, if you get it done before it sap rises.
Exactly. And the boards and commissions meeting, all city boards and commissions meeting is next Tuesday, the 19th, from 5 to 7 p.m. at the community center.
So you should have all received an invitation to that.
Yeah.
So next Tuesday, 5 to 7 in the community centre. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good.
Thanks, Ron.
Well, I think Ron took care of the maintenance of the tree canopy item there. What we've got, I've got some samples of a. This is Nancy's letter, turning it into a trifold brochure. I don't have a two-sided printer. What you've got is her letter just broken up arbitrarily by me into segments that are then, there's a label at the top, so you'll see the word cover. Well, that's meant to be the cover. And
space for a picture.
A space for the picture there, yes. Then inside, there's an inside right, a middle inside. It should say inside left on one side. It didn't say that. And then this side folds in so that you finish it with a trifold. Now, the margins are not in the best places yet for doing the trifold, but I can work on that. That isn't a big problem. What I would like people to do is to think about where exactly text should be and what figures or pictures or other things that we can put in there.
Picture of a tree.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, we could use the logo from our intro here. Isn't there a tree logo?
Yeah, there is.
I went through my pictures on my phone. I figured if we could have an electronic version of the picture, that would be easier to maybe get into the print somehow. So I thought if each of you did that, maybe you come up with something. My phone had very few. It had one really nice one of a crack.
Give it to we can give it to our staff up here and see if they can mess around with it. We have some interns. We can see if they can mess around with it.
Yeah, so what I'd like to do anyways is for people to either describe a picture they would like in here, or if you've got a picture we can put in there. What I'll then do is get it sort of roughly ready, and then I'll turn it over to Ron, and Ron is going to be the printer of this. Great work. Great. So if he's got other hands that can help tidy things up and adjust things, that'll be even better. The thing is a Word document at the moment, and I think we can do it at that level and then print it from there.
Beech tree, sassafras, or sycamore, a red maple in fall.
Buckeye.
How's it?
Yeah.
Nancy, it sounds like you should be the graphic designer here because you have all kinds of ideas.
Yeah, I'm not a graphic designer. That's fine. I'm asking for input from others. So, are there any more comments on Nancy's brochure at all?
That's pretty.
Thank you for persevering, and thank you, David, for moving it onto a trifold.
I like it.
Okay, good. Is there any other business we need to be talking about?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to make a quick mention. I received, I was copied on an email today to Superintendent Tom Gibbs, asking about the oak trees that are on Wallace Drive in front of East Elementary, and if there's any, if those are being worked into the new plan for the building that's going to be built there.
That's I hadn't even thought of that. That's a very good idea. Yeah, those are large trees.
I'm not sure whether they have to follow the city's plans, do they? Are they a separate political subdivision?
They are, yeah.
Well, in that case, they don't have to follow our code.
No, but it would be, yeah.
We should encourage them to.
Oh, yeah, I mean, OU comes to us. We've had the hospital come to us. In fact, both the mental health hospital and O'Blennis come to us. But this is one thing we have to be careful of when we're dealing with separate political subdivisions, that we can't do much. We can encourage.
Right. Yes, yeah.
We can
ask.
our expertise,
Yes.
our advice, and our encouragement.
Yes.
So certainly we'd encourage them to talk to us about these things. And obviously, if the trees are in a public right of way, then they come under Ron's purview, and he will ask our advice about what to do with them.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that there'd be a big tree removal here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or potential damage from the construction or destruction.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a work zone.
Which will start this summer.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of heavy equipment in there.
Right.
By the way, the if you're going to try and protect trees in a work zone, you need to go out to the drip line. You do not want to put a construction fence close to the trees. It needs to be much further away, so that the vehicles can't drive over and compact the roots and basically kill the tree. That's how construction tape kills trees. So, are you going to...
I can follow up and forward this, but if anybody knows anyone that is sitting on any of the committees, it might not be bad to make mention.
Certainly, yeah.
Okay, so I know Kim
Goldsberry. Okay.
I can talk to her about our concerns.
Good.
Just in general, and
she knows about the tree commission.
Our need for. We don't want to lose any trees that we don't have to because our tree canopy is not what it should. It's certainly not optimal. Not up to.
Okay. So yes, if you can encourage her to get us included, that'd be good. Is there anything else? If not, we have minutes of the last meeting. You don't have this attached, but when the minutes go forward, they'll have the plans attached to 6 West Stimson. It's referenced in here. It says "see attached plan." You don't have a copy. The electronic copy you got did have a copy in there, but I decided not to print off 8 copies of the plan. But you've got the minutes there where we discussed the 6 West Stimson plan and what we decided they'd have to do. I don't think, Ron, there's been any further development on what's happening on Stimson with the power lines, has there?
No.
As far as you know, yeah. Because that's a question for that property, that we could have large shade trees planted at the edge of that property, but there's AEP with its high voltage power cables going overhead. And at the moment, there is no plan. But Jessica told me that they were going to go back to AEP and see what could be done.
That's great. And
it'd be good if we can get them, because that really would benefit that whole area. Absolutely. If we can plant some large shade trees there.
Absolutely.
Where is that, David? I'm sorry.
It's opposite the post office.
Oh, okay.
What is that anyway?
It's a spec building, I think. Has he said what he's going to put in there?
No, I don't know if it's rented yet.
Many windows, like a fortress.
Yeah, on the east side, it's really taken shape, so now you can see where the trees would be better placed.
It's a shame.
Did they come to us? Did we?
No. Well, it came to us at the last meeting in the sense that I'd raised the issue with Rick because Rick had told me that what they were going to plan to do, and as far as he was concerned, it complied with Title 37. I visited the site and said, you've got a problem because you've got 3 large shade trees underneath these high voltage cables, and we don't want that. It'll just lead to problems. We need 3 small trees, and that means they then had to add another tree somewhere else on the property.
How did that happen, that he just decided on his own to deal with it?
He can do that.
Why would he want to do that?
Speed the process up. But he consults me, and if I think it's a really big issue, I'll send it out to you to have a look at. But to me, I just walked up there, looked at it, and said, "No, you can't do that because you've got high voltage cables."
Kind of things that need to come out for sure.
Yes, but the plans didn't show high voltage cables over.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it goes back to this whole issue that the plans do not show the utilities routinely, whether it's underground or above ground.
Yeah, so as those plans as that real plan comes into fruition of what's actually going on, you start to see it.
Yeah.
But the concept plan, it's,
Yeah.
a simple site plan, you don't see it.
But I think that even a simple site plan should show major utilities in place.
They don't always.
No, they don't.
And there's some fairly good shade trees that don't at maturity wouldn't get in the power lines. But
You could-
like
no,
there's a
you
couple
could-
maples. Is that like
No,
called a
you
hedge
can't,
maple?
no.
It gets pretty tall, but it's not. It's more a medium-sized tree.
Well, I think it's sort of between small and medium. It's not a real shade tree.
You can't put a large shade tree, a medium shade tree, underneath those power lines.
Oh, okay.
You've got to leave it, I think it's 10 feet clear below the cables. And those cables are, 35, 40 feet up in the air? So at best, you're looking at something 20 to 25 feet tall. That is a small tree.
Then they'd wind up cutting the tree.
Yeah. So that's why we say if you're in that position, you can plant 3 small trees in place of 1 large shade tree.
But we could recommend a small tree that's not like a crabapple, something that's really.
We have an extensive list of trees that they can choose from.
Yeah, we just have to be more considerate in terms of when we plant under lines, because that's gotten us into trouble over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. And just going back to AEP and their pruning practice, if there's a question of whether to leave the tree there or not, if it's a large shade tree that is badly pruned or in bad shape, I think we should encourage AEP to remove it and then plant something smaller there, or 2 or 3 things that are smaller there in a nice cluster.
I agree.
A tree fringe.
Yeah. Any other comments on the minutes?
No, I'll approve them.
Thank you, David. Can I have a second, please, for the minutes? Thank you, Nancy. Any further discussion on the minutes? Any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing none, we have minutes of the last meeting, and I will forward those on to the city publication. Our next meeting will be March 14th at 7 o'clock in the City Council chamber, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Could I mention something? That is spring break. So I don't know who's going to be here.
I will be out of town.
I will not be out of town, but I just wanted to mention that.
Good
Might
point.
impact some people's schedules.
Okay.
So
I will check.
Arizona.
We may have to
Baseball spring
reschedule,
training.
but we'll see.
a week earlier or a week later or something like that. Maybe
Okay.
just for that.
We're adjourned. Thank you.